Millions of older engines could be put at risk starting May 1st, 2026. On March 25th, 2026, the EPA issued an emergency waiver allowing E15 gasoline to be sold widely across more than 35 states this summer. This is a type of fuel that contains 15% ethanol. But the truth is, E15 is not better. And more importantly, not every vehicle is approved to use it. From motorcycles to vehicles built before 2011, even small engines, this policy is turning the summer of 2026 into a technical nightmare, where everyday owners become unintended victims. And if these are the kinds of engines you rely on, don't skip this video. Because by the end, I'll show you how to protect your vehicle from damage under this new E15 policy. Political context. To understand why E15 is being pushed, you have to look at the bigger picture. In 2026, the global energy market is in a state of instability. Crude oil prices have officially crossed the $100 per barrel mark. Geopolitical tensions in the Middle East, especially involving Iran, are tightening supply. And when oil prices go up, everything follows. Transportation costs, food prices, and most noticeably the price of fuel at the pump. That's when governments start looking for a quick fix. E15 is that fix. By increasing the ethanol content from 10% to 15%, they can reduce dependence on imported oil because ethanol is produced domestically from corn. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, ethanol can help lower fuel production costs in the short term. But the price of that decision gets passed directly to the consumer. From a mechanical standpoint, ethanol is not gasoline. It burns differently, it evaporates differently, and most importantly, it reacts differently with the materials inside your fuel system. Modern engines may be designed to tolerate that, but most vehicles on the road, especially the older cars, trucks, and small equipment, are not built for this kind of fuel. And that's the key point. E15 is not an upgrade. It's a trade-off between cheaper fuel today and repair bills you'll be paying tomorrow. To understand this clearly, let's move into the list of engines that should never touch E15. Engines that must never use E15. First, the old veterans, built before 2001. This is, quite frankly, a death sentence for older vehicles, because E15 is their #1 enemy. Why the 2001 cutoff? Before that point, engineers never designed these systems to handle fuel blended with 15% corn ethanol. The fuel systems in these vehicles rely on nitrile rubber seals and carburetors made from aluminum zinc alloys. Ethanol is a powerful solvent. It will swell, soften, and eventually break down those rubber components from the inside out. What you'll notice is rough running, hard starts, or the engine stalling in the middle of the road. That's not because the car is bad. It's because those degraded rubber particles are now clogging injectors and blocking tiny jets inside the carburetor, second small engines, and outdoor equipment. Lawnmowers, chainsaws, backup generators. These are the machines that will fail the fastest. Small engines operate at extremely high temperatures and are often air-cooled. Ethanol burns hotter than pure gasoline. That extra heat pushes combustion temperatures to the limit, increasing the risk of detonation, which can punch holes in pistons or burn exhaust valves. Even worse, these systems have no onboard computer to adjust fuel delivery when oxygen content changes due to ethanol. The result? A lean-running engine, overheating, and permanent damage, sometimes in just a single summer. Third, recreational vehicles and marine equipment. Marine environments are already humid year-round. Combine that with ethanol, and you get a perfect storm. In boats, a process called phase separation happens incredibly fast. Ethanol aggressively absorbs moisture from the air, forming a heavy, acidic water layer that settles at the bottom of the fuel tank. And then the engine dies, right in the middle of a lake or out near open water. At that point, it's no longer about repair costs. It's about safety. Fourth, heavy-duty trucks. A lot of people assume that big trucks can run on anything. That's a mistake. Heavy-duty engines are built for high torque and long-term durability under extreme load. E15, with its lower energy density, forces internal components like connecting rods and crankshafts to endure additional stress. The EPA has already placed these vehicles on the Do Not Use E15 list because they understand the material limits involved. And there's one detail most people overlook. Ethanol may help increase octane. According to the U.S. Department of Energy's Alternative Fuels Data Center, ethanol delivers lower energy content per gallon, which means fuel economy can drop depending on the blend ratio and whether the engine is actually designed for ethanol. In other words, for these restricted engines, E15 is not better gasoline. It's a mismatched fuel, wrong formulation, wrong materials, and the wrong application. As you can see, the list of victims runs from a simple lawnmower all the way to the vehicle sitting in your garage. And if you're running any of these machines, don't miss what comes next, the hidden traps behind E15. The deceptive traps of E15. In the fuel business, the truth is often hidden behind numbers. Starting this summer, you'll begin to see large signs at gas stations like Sheetz or Come and Go promoting a new fuel called Unleaded 88. With a price about 15 to 25 cents cheaper than regular 87, a lot of people will think they've found a bargain. But let me show you the trap behind it. The label trap, the illusion of 88. You've spent your whole life believing that higher octane means better fuel. They understand that psychology, so they slap on the number 88, dress it up with bright colors, and make it look like a premium upgrade over standard 87. But the truth is that 88 comes from increasing the ethanol content to 15%. Ethanol naturally has a higher octane rating, but it's what mechanics call a hollow fuel. But it doesn't carry the same energy as pure gasoline. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, ethanol contains about 33% less energy per gallon than gasoline. So when you fill up with unleaded 88 E15, your engine ends up burning more fuel to do the same work. Fuel economy typically drops by around 1 to 2% compared to standard E10. That means the 20 cents you saved at the pump gets quietly burned away through reduced efficiency and shorter driving range. The color code trap, fueling confusion by design. Traditionally, fuel pumps followed a simple system: black handle for gasoline, green for diesel. Simple, clear, hard to mess up. But with E15, that clarity is disappearing. Gas stations are now creating a color-coded maze. At some Sheetz locations, E15 comes from a light blue handle. At others, it's bright yellow. And here's the problem. In many places, yellow or blue has historically been used for specialty fuels. Or worse, can be confused with diesel at older stations. This is where the real danger lies. Because one mistake at the pump, one wrong handle, can cost you an entire fuel system. Stay sharp. These corporations aren't helping you save money. They're selling you a diluted fuel and dressing it up to look like an upgrade. Phase separation, the hidden disaster. 15 is not just a poor fuel, it's a slow-moving bomb inside your fuel system. Ethanol is hygroscopic. It acts like a giant sponge pulling moisture from the air straight into your tank. Once enough water builds up, a destructive physical process begins. Phase separation. The ethanol and water mixture becomes heavier than gasoline. It separates from the fuel and sinks to the bottom of the tank. If the vehicle sits for long periods, or if it's something like a backup generator in the corner of your garage, this acidic sludge is the first thing that gets pulled into the engine. From there, the damage spreads quickly. It corrodes fuel injectors, or it eats away at the inside of the fuel tank. And in many cases, it leaves the engine unable to start again without a costly teardown. The warranty trap. Manufacturers walk away. Don't assume you're safe just because you're driving a newer vehicle, like a 2025 Ram 1500 or a Subaru Forester. Many manufacturers clearly state maximum ethanol content, 10%. So if your fuel system fails and the dealership detects E15 in your tank, they have every right to deny your warranty. This is where the trap becomes complete. The government allows E15 to lower fuel prices on paper. Gas stations label it 88 to attract buyers, and manufacturers sit back, waiting for you to make the mistake so they can walk away from repair responsibility. It's a perfect financial loop, and the only one paying the price is the consumer. The deception behind the Unleaded 88 label is just the tip of the iceberg. When people realize they've poured this poison into their tank, their first instinct is to reach for a solution, often something sitting on a garage shelf with a hefty price tag. But be careful, because even familiar fixes like seafoam motor treatment can become part of their problem if you don't truly understand what they are doing inside your engine. When the savior fails, we've trusted seafoam for decades to remove carbon buildup in clean fuel systems. But take a step back for a moment. Look at the chemical composition. Seafoam motor treatment in many traditional engine cleaners typically contain pale oil, naphtha, and most importantly, isopropyl alcohol. Under normal E10 fuel conditions, that alcohol helps absorb and disperse moisture effectively. But when you're dealing with E15, a fuel that is already saturated with ethanol, adding another alcohol-based additive is like pouring fuel onto a fire. It accelerates the breakdown of rubber and synthetic components. Seals and gaskets that are already weakened by E15 become brittle, crack, and fail much faster. And there's another critical problem. Seafoam was never designed to fight phase separation. It may clean carbon deposits off piston tops, but it cannot stop gallons of water and ethanol from separating and settling at the bottom of your fuel tank. So those multi-purpose solutions from decades past are no longer strong enough to counter today's chemically altered fuels. If you keep using the wrong solution, you're not just wasting money on additives, you're accelerating the aging process of your engine. To truly protect these analog machines, you need specialized tools products designed specifically to deal with the ethanol problem. How to protect your engine from the E15 storm. 1. Lucas oil, upper cylinder lubricant, armor for the combustion chamber. Ethanol is a dry fuel. It doesn't provide the same lubrication as pure gasoline, and that's where the damage begins. When you fill up with E15, piston rings start to experience increased friction against the cylinder walls. Fuel injectors operate in a low lubrication environment. The fuel pump is forced to spin in a liquid that acts more like a solvent than a protective medium. Lucas oil is not just a cleaner, it's an upper cylinder lubricant that forms an ultra-thin but highly durable oil film on metal surfaces. This layer helps protect critical components from acid-related corrosion caused by E15. In an E15 environment, ethanol can oxidize over time and form mild acids. That protective film acts as a barrier isolating metal surfaces from that corrosion. It prevents the system from choking when forced to run on cheap 88-octane fuel. Without that added layer of lubrication, E15 isn't just fuel. It becomes a solvent, slowly wearing down the very heart of your engine. 2. Pri-G gasoline treatment, the enemy of phase separation. If you're worried about phase separation, then Pri-G gasoline treatment is your answer. Unlike alcohol-based products like seafoam, Pri-G is engineered for a much more specific mission: to stabilize the chemical structure of fuel in humid environments. Here's how it works. It encapsulates microscopic water molecules, disperses them evenly throughout the fuel, and prevents them from bonding together into a separate layer. This becomes critically important for vehicles that sit unused for long periods, stay parked in the garage, or operate in high humidity conditions. Because those are the exact conditions where phase separation is most likely to occur. In an E15 environment, ethanol behaves like a magnet for moisture. In just a few days of humid exposure, enough water can accumulate to trigger separation. At that point, the fuel sitting at the bottom of the tank is no longer capable of stable combustion. That's why this product is widely used in industrial and marine applications, where even a small fuel issue can turn into a catastrophic failure out in open water. 3. Sta-Bil Marine or Sta-Bil 360 protection. The lifeline for stored equipment. For machines that don't run often, you need Sta-Bil, but specifically the Marine or 360 protection formulas. These versions contain up to 4 times the level of antioxidants and stabilizers compared to standard treatments. They allow fuel to remain stable for up to 12 months, even with 15% ethanol present, and they do more than just control moisture. They protect brass and aluminum components inside carburetors from the electrochemical corrosion caused by ethanol. But the best solution, and yes, the most expensive one, is to find stations that sell ethanol-free gasoline. No ethanol, no moisture absorption, no phase separation, no chemical corrosion. It may cost a few extra dollars per fill-up, but that's the cheapest insurance you can buy to avoid a multi-thousand-dollar engine rebuild. Because what you put into your tank today determines whether you'll be tearing that engine apart tomorrow. Don't let the EPA's 20-day waiver fool you. Governors in states like Illinois are already pushing to make E15 a permanent, year-round standard. This may be the beginning of a full-scale invasion of low-quality fuel into engines that were built to last. But we are the ones who understand the value of every piston, every crankshaft. So don't trade your machine for a few cents saved at the pump, because that small saving could send your engine straight into a mechanical slaughterhouse. If this kind of real-world knowledge helps you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't become the next victim of these modern fuel traps.